of this, Henry. Job not quite done yet.
No, I think of all the ways we thought this morning session might go, England comfortably knocking off the runs was not necessarily the script we were expecting.
It's a new era, new coach,
New slate, new reset.
absolutely. In comes Jameson to Folkes this time, who lets this one go outside the off stump. Not seen too many leaves, have we? We've seen the intent has been there from England, which is good to see. Folkes making 29 from 86, albeit it was a lot more watchful yesterday than he has been this morning. We've seen some lovely shots so far from the keeper.
There's not been a huge recent fall though. It hasn't moved laterally, has it? So you look at someone like Folkes, who's probably not as strong on the offside as he is on the leg side, but even he's felt comfortable just to punch the ball a little bit on the offside. Whereas yesterday, he wasn't playing that shot.
Jameson charges in again, delivers, and this is defended out towards a point. No run once more. Decent rally in here as well with Route 98. A lot of fans getting to potentially witness a moment of history as Route 2 runs away from that 26 test ton, 10,000 test runs as well, and 13 men in the history of this become just a second Englishman as well, after the great Alistair Cook, Sir Alistair Cook we should say. 3 balls left in this over, 18 required to win there. In comes Jameson, delivers on the stumps, and this is defended a little bit tentatively down to mid-off by Folkes, and there is no run. And there was a bit of concern, wasn't there, early on? Root might not have enough runs to be able to get to that ton the way Folkes was going, and those half volleys they were feeding him. But, waiting for that moment of history now. England pretty much got this one in the bag. Although with England, Henry, you've seen them more than most over the years. Never say never.
No, particularly when Stuart Broad is potentially the next man in. It is a long old tale.
Jameson into Folkes again. This time defence towards point. Again, well fielded there. No run. I mean, the New Zealanders, you can just see with the body language, can't you, Jared? They've just dropped in the last sort of 3 or 4 overs. The ball's not doing much. England are knocking off these runs pretty comfortably, and they're almost resigned to the fact that this one is done.
Yeah, Jameson tried the big follow through there, and Folkes just turned the other way, and it felt quarter-hearted. Like he just didn't really believe it himself, but he tried to show some aggression. But no, you're right. We've had 2 bowling changes, and realistically, one of them was because of the ends.
Jameson delivers once more. This is short. It's pulled away past the back of square leg. Folkes is going to get himself a couple of runs. 16 now required for victory. I think the round of applause more so for the fact that they got back through for 2, and Root is going to be on strike for the start of the new over, with England 261 for 5.
All the attention.
So what sporting events are you excited for? AFL? NRL State of Origin?
He's going to score the try.
Spring racing?
Very elegant. The mighty mare wins the cup by 4.
International touring sports events?
Finals goal save magnificently.
Ballpark Entertainment can get you there. Ticketing, corporate suites and money can't buy experiences. Get the best access to the best sporting events with Ballpark Entertainment. Making memories. ballparkentertainment.com.au. SEN and SENZ Test Cricket with Razeen, the paint the professionals use back here at Lords, with England needing 16 more runs for victory. Joe Root on strike, 98 not out. The tension is building. 10,000 test runs and a 26th test 100. It's just 2 away is Joe Root. It's going to be Tim Southee from the pavilion end into Root, who defends in front of point. And there is no run. Nicholas Shrigani alongside Jared Kimber and Henry Moran.
Just want to make a very quick point. That last bouncer by Jameson in the previous over was 79 miles an hour. Just didn't get up. Just look at it was a kid sort of just turning the ball in the corner, around the corner in the backyard, and the tennis ball gets stuck in the surface a little bit. It really is an easy surface to bat on at the moment. For all the harsh words we've given to New Zealand.
Southee in once more to Root, who defends elegantly to mid-off. Nice high elbow. He's not going to mess around here. He's not going to take any unnecessary risks, is he, Henry? We know about the mindset of Joe Root. I mean, milestones, yes, batters will tell you that they'll come. We just want to win the game, but he will be thinking about this, and it will be playing on his mind. There's been so much coverage in the press, hasn't there?
And given the narrative as well of him having recently given up the Test captaincy as well, the fact that he's slipping back into Joe Root, the batter, as part of this England side.
Southee into Root again. It's full. It's flicked away out towards mid-wicket. He's through for one. He's going to get back for two. Ajaz Patel with the fielding. It doesn't matter. Root gets through for his 26th Test century. And more importantly, perhaps, as he takes his helmet off and salutes the crowd, 10,000 runs for the former England captain. He hugs his partner, Ben Foakes. Just the 14th man in the history of Test cricket to bring up the milestone of 10,000 Test runs. Take a bow, Joe Root.
This is a guy who does the work. You cannot be anything but in awe of his batting talent, but it's the work that he does. Watch how much he works on his bowling, if anything else. He's an absolute all-time great batting talent, but he works on his game day in, day out, and works on his body, gets himself right. And that's how you make 10,000 runs. There's lots of players with lots of talent. There are not lots of players with 10,000 runs, and he's got them for England, probably quite a few more years to go. Just an absolute all-time legend of English cricket.
The second youngest man to reach the milestone as well. What an ovation that was as Southee comes in again, and this time Root defends straight back down the pitch. And there is no run. 118 Test matches for Joe Root to reach this landmark. Second youngest after Sir Alistair Cook to get there as well. 14 more needed to win. More importantly, to get a milestone like this, 26 Test hundreds, 10,000 Test runs, and lead your side to victory. Without this innings from Joe Root, England were in a hole here.
This ticks every single box from not only Joe Root's point of view, but this England side, the new England leadership and everything that they're trying to build.
In comes Southee to Root again, who drives only as far as mid-on for no run.
And you're quite right, he's an all-time great. He is one of the greatest talents that English cricket has seen with the bat, but also, let's not forget the emotional and physical turmoil of being the England Test captain in what has been a really pretty tough few years, and you could sense it had got too much by the end of that West Indies tour. So to see him out in the middle at Lord's with a smile on his face, having reached this extraordinary milestone, will be so heartening, encouraging to England that they've got that linchpin in form.
14 to win then. In comes Southee. It's full. It's flicked off the legs down towards Kyle Jamieson at fine leg. Root will retain strike. End of the over. England 264 for 5. Another 13 required to win.
Every day, first responders support our community. In 2022, it has become apparent just how much they do, responding to bushfires, floods, natural disasters, and COVID-19. On June 8, write a message of support on social media or say thanks in person to the people who protect and care for us. Thank you. 2 words with enormous meaning. Share your message of support on your social channels by using the hashtag. Visit the Gratitude Gallery. thankafirstresponder.com.au.
SEN Test cricket back here with the action at Lord's as Joe Root looks to be leading his side to a famous victory here at the home of cricket. Nikesh Ragani alongside Jared Kimber and Henry Moran. Root 101 not out from 160 deliveries, 26 Test 100 for him, 10,000 runs as well. The 14th man in the history reached that milestone, just the second Englishman as well after Sir Alistair Cook. First man, of course, Sunil Gavaskar. Alan Border followed a few years later. And now Joe Root joins the club as Trent Boult is into the attack, into Root on the pads. It's flicked out towards deep backward square leg. They're going to settle for just the single. 2 men out there on the rope. 12 more required for victory. It is really an exclusive club, isn't it, Jared? I mean, we talked about those two, Gavaskar and Border, who got there first. Then there was a big gap, wasn't there? And then a bit of an influx through the sort of late 90s, early noughties, with the likes of Tendulkar, Kallis, Lara.
We started to play a lot more cricket, didn't we?
Absolutely.
So you get to see more players, but still, it doesn't really matter if you think about the actual workload that you need to be able to do on your body. Batting for long periods of time affects your back and your hands.
Bolt in again. This time Folkes flicks it out towards long leg. Another single, 11 required to win.
You know, we don't talk about the toll that it takes on batters because it's always worse on bowlers and wicketkeepers. But, you know, you look at someone like Mike Atherton and Michael Clarke, two guys who could barely move their backs by the end of their careers just from standing over it so much, and the hands and the impact. And so to be able to do that for 10,000 test runs is remarkable. Then you have to stay in the team. In Root's case, he was almost the only batter for a long period.
Bolt is into Root, who drives only as far as mid-off, no run. Frustrated by that, Joe Root. Bit of a groan out there in the middle, which you can see. I mean, 11 required to win. England have pretty much got this one in the bag. He's just brought up all these new landmarks, breaking records as we speak, but still frustrated at not being able to get that one away. It just shows you how high he sets the bar, Henry.
Yeah, and for him, he will unquestionably sit down at the end of today and think that is some achievement, but the win is what matters here for England.
Bolt in again, and this time it's just defended. So short extra cover.
And I know that sounds really obvious, and it's a slightly cliche thing that you often hear sports people say, which is, you know, it's not about the individual performance, it's about the team performance. But having been the captain and taken that burden of responsibility for so long, longer than anyone else, there has been a real sense that Root has been carrying this team, both as a leader and in terms of the bulk of run scoring. So to get the side over the line and show that he's supporting Ben Stokes with the way he's playing will be huge for him.
Bolt in once more. It's very full, it's driven, but Bolt does the fielding in his follow-through with his left hand. Ball trickles just past the stumps, and there is no run. I mean, Joe Root, the batter, never really went away through his captaincy, did it? I mean, you're right, he was carrying the team as a captain, as a batter as well, but it's almost ominous for everyone around the world, isn't it, that he's no longer got the burden of captaincy. He's still a senior member of this side, but he's free now, isn't he?
That's a big thing for England, to know that he's got that hunger, because it would be easy for him to switch off just a little bit.
Delivers again. It's a full toss outside the off stump. It's driven away. Square. Ajaz Patel at deep backward point. Just a single this time. 10 required for victory. England 267 for 5. I mean, we were uncertain, weren't we, at one point whether we're going to get underway on time, but 10 more to win, 267 for 5.
First responders support our community. In 2022, it has become apparent just how much they do, responding to bushfires, floods, natural disasters, and COVID-19. On June 8, write a message of support on social media or say thanks in person to the people who protect and care for us. Thank you. 2 words with a meaning. Share your message of support on your social channels by using the hashtag The Gratitude Gallery. Thankafirstresponder.com.au.
Want to win the ultimate 2022 Toyota AFL Grand Final VIP experience? Thanks to Choices Flooring, you and a mate could be mixing with the stars at some of the biggest events of the footy season. Experience all the hype of Grand Final week firsthand, then be at the big match itself, the 2022 Toyota AFL Grand Final. Prize includes all tickets, 6 nights accommodation and return flights. Visit iCanWin.com.au and you could win thanks to Choices Flooring. AFL authorised GF promotion, GFAFL 22/07.
Bolts the Root, wider of the crease. Root drives out towards that man at deep backward point. Worked it into his left. They come back for a second. Nicely played. Root into the 80s. 2-2-1 for 5. Jameson up to Folkes here. Bowles and Folkes off the back foot through backward point. That'll be a boundary. Ben Folkes moves up to 17. The first 4 of the morning.
Jameson into Folks' drive. Thirdly, straight down the ground. This could be four. That's a wonderful shot from Folks. Really controlled on drive, and it has now funneled into the sponge. Tim Southey couldn't catch up with that. We've had half an hour now today, and this is not House. We're supposed to pan out for New Zealand. They've conceded 25 runs in that half an hour. Waits back raised and drives firmly down the ground. That's a wonderful straight drive. That's running up to the boundary. Southey's after it. He's not going to get there.
Tim Southey once more. This is short. It's hooked round the corner, and that's going to be four to Ben Folks as well. No chance for Carl Jamieson down at long leg. Southey into Root again. It's full. It's flicked away out towards mid-wicket. He's through for one. He's going to get back for two. Rajesh Patel with the fielding. It doesn't matter. Root gets through for his 26th Test century. And more importantly, perhaps, as he takes his helmet off and salutes the crowd, 10,000 runs for the former England captain. He hugs his partner Ben Folks, just the 14th man in the history of Test cricket to bring up the milestone of 10,000 Test runs. Take a bow, Joe Root.
A wonderful Lord's moment, nicely called by Nikesh Regani as well. Joe Root to his 26th ton and the 14th man to 10,000 Test runs. Extraordinary achievement. His 118th Test match. He's averaging just on 50. And the first time he secured a century in the fourth innings of a Test match. 10 runs away from being there at the end. Adam Collins with you. Jeremy Coney back with me, with Jared Kimber. There'll be a natural disappointment from Black Caps fans, Jeremy. Nothing's really worked this morning.
No, it certainly seems as if New Zealand have really bought their second game.
It's not been ideal, has it?
Not a maiden. Not even a maiden. What an anti-climax.
I would have liked this
for the whole day.
It's been one kind of game.
Oh, yes.
Southey, pavilion end, bowling to Root, who steers through the corner with class. Oh, that is fabulous, Matty. He knew exactly where he was placing that, deflecting through about third slip. Only one catcher in the call. Root up to 107. And they're into the 270s. Their target to 6 runs away, 271 for 5. The partnership up to 112.
Well, they've played well this morning. I mean, haven't they? I mean, you've got to say, Root, the chance to get Root out was in the first 10 minutes. Didn't happen. And once that's just gone on like this, and also Folks has supported so well, even if New Zealand kept, Root away from the action.
Southey to Root. They've moved the slip to where Root played the previous ball. Oh, that is stunning. A beautiful straight drive. Down towards the long off rope. And the Lord's crowd loves it. Joe Root's 11th boundary. He moves to 1-1-1. Bang on Nelson.
It is a beautiful drive.
But, can I just add a but?
You're going to say
It's a lobbed half volley.
It just floated, I was going to say. I mean, we've seen a couple of these shots today where we've all purred at the shots. What is that delivery? I just don't understand the thinking behind this at this point.
2 to win. Southey bowls to Root, field spread. Root past the inside edge, tried to steer again through the corner to finish with that little dab that he plays so well.
I think he almost hit that onto the stumps, didn't he? Yeah.
Well, he just missed out on making contact. In the end, Blundell took it fingers up. I mean, it's been your criticism, both of your criticism this morning, is that they've given Root, especially, too many balls to drive, and it's just not worked.
I mean, if they're waiting for the ball to swing, I think they've proved it will never swing.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand why they haven't tried short balls, wide balls, cutters, any different formation.
And they won't get that second new ball either. It's a 79th over, so yes, 2 to win. Southey to Root, who punches hard to point. The crowd wanted him to bring it up with another stylish boundary, not to be. He's played so well this morning, as has Ben Folks. His partnership of 116 will do wonders for the wicketkeeper's career, Jared.
No, definitely. I thought he came in, it was tough yesterday. It hasn't been as tough today, let's be honest, but he got through that period. And I think he scored more of his runs in leg byes last night than he actually did off his bat. But, this is an innings that England really wanted to see from him.
2 balls left in the over, 2 runs to win. Southey to Root, pulls through the outside, and that's the victory for England. Out towards the mid-wicket rope. Root does it in style. Hammering it away. Out towards the Tabard stand. England victorious. victorious by 5 wickets. And in the end, a clinical victory for the home side. They came back this morning requiring 61 to win, and New Zealand never looks like it. Along the way, Joe Root passed 10,000 runs, brought up his 26th Test century. He finishes on 115 not out. Ben Foakes down the other end, a crucial contribution on 32, the standard 120. And England have snapped their winless streak. It would have been 10 tests without a win. They got the job done today at Lords. That's a stirring effort from the former captain, Joe Root.
This is a big chase, right? And the Grand Dogs heel, the no ball that didn't dismiss Ben Stokes is a huge sliding doors moment. They could have been rolled for 130, 150 without any problems at all. And they didn't, and they fought their way through. New Zealand made a lot of errors in this game and still were not that far behind. But England, very reliant on the seam bowlers, and Joe Root has been enough to get over New Zealand in this case. But you have to respect any team. To chase at Lords is never easy, even if you're doing it early on day 4 rather than late on day 5.
A wonderful reception for Joe Root, who leads the players from the field, racing bats all 4 points. His first Test match as the former captain, Jeremy Coney. And so much was made of his individual performances through 2021, but the team just not able to do the job, giving the armband over to his great mate Ben Stokes and delivering at his primary duty as a Test batter. And what a Test batter he's been.
Oh, he's an absolute class act, isn't he? But he bases his game, like all good batsmen, on orthodoxy. And when we see a lot of people moving aside from that basic cardinal tenets of how you bat, because of perhaps some of the other formats slightly, but you come back to it with the requirement that you need in these sort of circumstances. And so I've got nothing but admiration for Joe Root. I think a lot of people feel that way around the world. He just has a sort of an infallible sympathy with the bowled ball, that's an appropriate flowing shot for what's been delivered to him. The meal has been served. Thank you, and I'll just crash that away, and I'll throw it down the throat. And he does it. He does it time after time. In this case, 26 times.
Jeremy Coney, I'm going to let you go back upstairs to the other place where you'll continue to do what you do. Jeremy, and it's been an absolute delight having you with us at Lords. We'll see you again next. So Daniel Norcross will come in to replace the former New Zealand captain. Jared, the performance from New Zealand today, you've been critical throughout of the tactics they implemented. In the end, they don't even get to the second new ball. That 79th over, 3 boundaries taken from it. Root able to steer, then drive, then pull. It almost summed up the morning. It's a microcosm of what we saw. They were able to score too easily at the start, and then the game drifted away ever so quickly.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to know what their meeting is after that little hour and a bit there, because I cannot believe that they're gonna come off unified to think that they gave themselves the best chance of winning this Test match this morning. They were behind the 8 ball. The ball didn't move. The pitch was friendly. You had Joe. Fine, we can take all those. What were they trying after their first forays into tactics didn't work? The 5-4 field didn't work. Bowling roughly around off stump didn't work. They had to try something else. And I think if you go back and look at this game, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that New Zealand is a far superior side than England at the moment. But I've got a list in front of me of how many mistakes they made in this game. Time after they pulled themselves back into the game, should have gone ahead and allowed themselves to be.
I'm not really going to give a great deal of credit to Ben Stokes' innings, because his was the most frenetic and insane 54 I've ever seen. I mean, he rode his luck extraordinarily. Played some wonderful shots in there, but his brain looked scrambled to me. He was very lucky to get anywhere near 54. Easily have been bowled for, what was he on, 1 at the time?
And he also gave New Zealand a chance. He did not need to. We've just seen.
He got out to an appalling shot.
The pitch was so flat and the ball wasn't moving at that point. There was no reason to play that shot, so he gave them a chance.
But that's what I want to come back to, because for all the analysis we can do and for all we can say about what New Zealand did wrong, The loss of Colin de Grandon was massive for this very reason. Colin de Grandon would have gone about 2 and over, and he would have bowled yesterday.
Yeah.
And the New Zealand seamers would have wheeled away at this end, and then they would have had a new ball, even if they'd not picked up the extra wickets. Even if Colin de Grandon had gone, none for 40 in 22 overs, what would have happened is that these bowlers would have had a new ball today, with England still needing 50 or 60. And that is what this test match has been all about. You just take a look at these scores. Wait a second. Right, 40 overs New Zealand batted in the first innings. 42.5 overs England batted in their first innings. That ball went hard, was doing a lot on that pitch. When did New Zealand get into the game? They got into the game with a fantastic partnership between Mitchell and Blundell, when the two of them worked out what the pitch conditions were. And after 22.5 overs, they came together and they didn't play a shot in anger for about an hour and a quarter.
Yep.
They played out 15 to 20 overs, and once that ball was over 40, 42, 43 overs old, they were able to start to accumulate. And pretty much the same thing happened for England, actually. Joe Root's innings started very cautiously, while Stokes was like a cat on a hot tin roof. And then once we got to about 40 overs, that's why Stokes' shot was inexplicable and ludicrous. But once it got to 40 overs, batting just became much, much easier. This was a new ball game and a new ball pitch, and the balls that England are using this year are, in fact, they are not the ones that they've been using for a few years. They are a different batch from the ones used in the County Championship, but they have got lower seams. They're not as cherry red. They don't maintain their shine for anything like as long as they go soft. It makes batting so much easier. And if you follow the basic shibboleths of batting, which is really what Jeremy Coney was talking about there, the orthodoxy, yes, see ball, hit ball, played on its merits, but you look at the way Ben Foakes batted. He batted like it's the 1980s, like scoring 2 runs is a good idea. Like coming forward and reaching for a slightly full ball, finding the gap, accessing that gap and getting 2 runs is fine. Johnny Bairstow, and heaven knows who else in this game, felt that if you didn't get a little single nudging down to fine leg, you had to smash the cover off it. And of course, the moment you do that, you have a higher backlift, you've got more moving parts, you've got a chance of not accessing the ball in the right way, you end up nicking or dragging on or missing the ball entirely. Ben Foakes batted properly for a new ball test match, and Joe Root got fantastic service from him, and that's really been the story of England side of the game. We can analyse what New Zealand did wrong today to art's content. I think looking at the way those balls have operated after 60 overs old, they're absolutely bloody useless.
Try and detail how important this was for Ben Foakes. I mean, Jared, you've written about the pecking order of England wicketkeepers a number of times, and the fact that until very recently Joss Buttler was doing the job, Johnny Bairstow, Ben Foakes last year, we saw James Bracey, even John Simpson got an opportunity at one day level. Ollie Pope's done it against New Zealand back in 2019. It's meant that Foakes, who's played throughout that period, has struggled to find his way. It's his first test in England. Being able to do it like that, the criticism was that his batting is nowhere near as good as the others I've mentioned just there. That is a clutch hand. When Stokes gets out, it's a blunt measure, but Winby's had New Zealand well ahead in the game again. And you're thinking, well, and it's game on. Pots in at 8 or Broad, effectively 4 number 11s. That takes some steely stuff. And Foakes, who's had a fantastic start to the domestic season, translating it through to test level, that'll buy him some precious room. He won't be dropped for the rest of the year. Still have some space to be the England number 1 wicketkeeper.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as he won't be dropped for the rest of the summer just because I follow English cricket. But you're probably right there. Look, I think the Twitter fans see his test average and see his first class average, and they think, why is Foakes not in the team? He's the best clubman and he's going to average over 40. I think those of us who've seen a lot of him, and you talk to people in Surrey, there's a reason why he doesn't bat at 4 or 5 for Surrey. Yeah, right. He's not anywhere near the level of batter that Buttler or Bairstow are. And what we saw today was probably the kind of, to go back to what Norcross was saying a moment ago, that was a 90s wicketkeeper innings. He came out and he was a bit scratchy, and we know he's not that good. And New Zealand basically went, you're a tail ender as far as we're concerned. We're going to give Joe, and he played completely within himself. That is what Ben Foakes does at his absolute best, the ability to play right within himself.
We're going to take a quick break before the presentation here on SENZ Test Cricket for Razine, New Zealand's most trusted paper brand, and for Chemist Warehouse. When we return, it'll be the presentation with the captains and the player of the match.
Good mark to
Wilson. He plays on a full pace and kicks a beauty to Thomas. Thomas gives off to Harris. Harris closes in on 50. But wait, he's tackled by Smith. Or is it Williams? Smith. Williams scrambles for the ball. Kicks it to a guy in blue who kicks it to some other guy in blue. Now some tall bloke has the ball. He kicks it to an even taller bloke. Kick. Handball. Kick. Don't miss the best bits. You won't miss a moment if you drink Wise. Proudly brought to you by Drinkwise.
The thrill of live sport is awesome. For the best access to the big time sporting events, talk to Ballpark Entertainment. AFL, NRL,
Claims a try.
hospitality packages at the racing,
Mighty Bear wins the cup by
even money can't buy experiences overseas, like the US Masters, Kentucky Derby, the Super Bowl.
Browns take Los Angeles.
Ballpark Entertainment can get you there. Making memories. Ballparkentertainment.com.au.
Every day, first responders support our community. In 2022, it has become apparent just how much they do, responding to bushfires, floods, natural disasters, and COVID-19. On June 8, write a message of support on social media or say thanks in person to the people who protect and care for us. Thank you. 2 words with enormous meaning. Share your message of support on your social channels by using the hashtag. Visit the Gratitude Gallery, thankaFirstResponder.com.au.
So what sporting events are you excited for? AFL, NRL State of Origin,
the corner. He's going to score the try.
spring racing,
Very elegant. The Mighty Bear wins the cup by
international touring sports events.
Finals go saved magnificently.
Ballpark Entertainment can get you there. Ticketing, corporate suites, and money can't buy experiences. Get the best access to the best sporting events with Ballpark Entertainment.